This week we're reviewing How to Train Your Dragon 2, which is follow-up to the 2009 How to Train Your Dragon. It's directed by Dean DeBlow, and the cast is, the leads are Jay Baruchel, Kate Blanchett, and Gerard Butler. And the plot basically picks up where the first one left off. So when we finished the first one, they had made peace with the dragons. They had established a colony. The Vikings and the dragons were living together in the city of Berk. And when we pick up now, the Toothless and Hiccup, the two main characters, are out kind of exploring the larger world, trying to spread their message of peace and joy, living with dragons, to other people. And they encounter some sort of rogue dragon hunters, and the story unfolds from there. So let's start by, Justin, what did you think of How to Train Your Dragon Part 1?
I liked it. It was one of those movies where I wasn't sure if I would or not, but I heard a lot of people say that it was actually really good, not just as a kid's movie, but as just a movie in general. And yeah, I liked it. I don't think I have like the over the top, oh my God, it's my favorite movie ever sort of reaction that some people I think have, but I think it's good.
Okay. So what about 2?
I think more of the same.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's like basically the same. You know, it's like if you like the first one, you'll like the second one. Why? Because they're like the same. I mean, not identical, but I think, you know, they're absolutely cut from the same cloth.
So you would recommend it to people?
Yeah, absolutely. If you like the first one, go see the second one. It's an easy decision.
Okay. Steve, what did you think about the first one?
Similar boat with Justin, where, you know, like I initially wrote it off entirely because it was a DreamWorks film, and you know,
we love our DreamWorks.
Yeah, exactly. But then, yeah, I wish people say they really loved it, so I watched it, didn't really love it, but it was okay. Like, you know, I don't know, like, I think I loved the music more than the movie. Like, I love Jonesy, who did a fantastic, theme song for the first movie, and I'm kind of sucker for any movie where like vaguely Celtic music fills the air, you know, which happens actually in both of these films.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they're just sort of like just enough like, you know, sweet funness in the movie to, you know, make up for like just the endless, you know, amounts of dragons flying through the air, which I feel like they spend way too much time in both movies, you know, doing. Actually, even I think it's worse in this movie than the previous one. There's just so much just dragons flying through the air, and oh, it's so majestic and amazing and uplifting, and I can only, you know, handle so much of it, and there's definitely more there than I can handle. But on the balance, like I think the rest of it sort of makes up for that. So yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Justin. I mean, they're kind of like they're actually, you know, exactly from the same cloth. If you like the first one, you probably like the same one for the same reasons, or the new one for the same reasons.
Okay, so you basically would recommend them both to the same degree, which is a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like, I don't know, I didn't see the first one in theaters, and I didn't regret waiting to see it, you know, and had we not been reviewing it for the show, I probably would have waited to watch this one on iTunes as well. You know, so it's worth, you know, it's worth a rental, I think.
I think it's interesting. So for the first half of the movie, because a lot nowadays when we do this, like I'm kind of sort of doing the review in my head as we watch it. So like the first half of the movie, I was fully prepared to say this is a spectacular movie, because at least, so the first, not the very first opening scene, but like the first scene where Hiccup and Toothless are present. Mm-hmm. There's some true, at least in my mind, there were some truly spectacular, like uplifting moments. You know, they're really playing with the whole flying with the dragon thing, and I really, really dug that. And it, you know, it keeps it up for a while, and then there's only 2 major downsides to this movie, I think. Overall, I would recommend it. I think it is pretty cool. One downside is that the pacing's kind of weird. Like sometimes I felt like, oh, this is the end, but it wasn't really the end. So it's sometimes hard to figure out like how should I be feeling right now? Should I be relieved because they sorted it all out, or am I prepared for more stuff? So it feels a little weird sometimes with that. And unfortunately, I think the bad guy is just generic grade A off the shelf bad guy who, like, in every conceivable respect, like,
yeah, he's incredibly one-dimensional.
Yeah, it was like if Steve could drop like his least favorite combination of every bad guy in every movie ever, I was like, that's, you know, I really like it when a bad guy is like smart, you know, and like really feels like he could choose to be good, you know. It's just that he, for whatever reason,
or at least as a baseline, if there was a good reason for the bad guy to be bad, which I didn't feel like there was even really one here. Like I wasn't even sure, you know, like because it was because of the arm. But even that, like, I felt really flimsy.
It was really weird. It was like a video game bad guy, basically. So I mean, I just had to make a conscious decision to like consider him not in the movie. And then I like the movie much better. So, just know that's kind of goofy. I mean, the entire movie rises and falls on the quality of like Toothless and Hiccup. So if you dig that, then you'll dig most of the movie. So like overall, I think it's one of these movies where I feel like there were some really great highs and some really just weird lows for like the bad guy. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay sort of averaging it out, I'd say it is a lot of fun. I kind of want to go back. We all saw it in 2D, but I kind of want to see it in 3D just to see if those flight experiences are different.
Yeah, and there's so much movies devoted to that. It seems like that may make, if you're into that you may really get a kick out of that.
Yeah, so
that's one thing that kind of annoys me about watching a movie that's available in 3D, in 2D, because I really actually kind of prefer to watch movies in 2D, but you'll see shots in the movie and you'll go, yep, they did that just because they could do it in 3D. It's like, oh, somebody happens to point something at the camera, or oh, we happen to zoom through this opening and something. It's like, oh, all the stuff you're like, 3D.
Yeah, what was the Mickey Mouse? Get a Horse. That was the one that we saw in front of Frozen.
Yeah, that one probably. Wait, did we see it in 3D or not? I can't remember.
We didn't. That or I did. You guys didn't. Yeah. Which that entire short is about the 3Dness of everything. Yeah. So anyway, I think it's easy to recommend. It's a good little fun movie, and I would say you could see it at home, except for the fact that the 3D stuff, if you're into that, could be pretty awesome. If you're like a 3D, you really like that experience. Yeah. The spectacle that is there. So if you're not, then you can wait. But if you really want to see 3D, then I'd say check it out in the theater.
That's fair.
I think having not seen the 3D, it's kind of a toss-up though, because I feel like there's good 3D and there's bad 3D, right?
That's true. Well, usually the 3D rendered stuff is better than the.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost the degree to which they use the effect, because I think actually Prometheus did a good job of not abusing the 3D effect, because I saw that in 3D, and at a certain point you kind of stop totally noticing the 3D, and it just kind of becomes like just another sort of aspect of the movie. But there's some movies, and this one's probably one of them, where it's like 3D. We paid a fortune for this 3D projector. We are going to use it for everything possible. So
put on your 3D glasses now.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it depends on exactly how they did it, but the CG is way easier for them to do.
Yeah.
Because what was the movie a while ago that I think it was maybe the Alice in Wonderland that came out just a few years ago. I saw that in 3D and it was like kind of nauseating. It was like hard to watch. And I found out later that actually the movie had been shot in 2D and they had gone back and painted on the depth effect. It's like, why did you think that would work?
Well, that was probably the period where everyone's like, oh my God, we have a way to get people in the theaters, make everything 3D.
That might be true.
3D, but it's just like, okay. Well, I guess that's basically our review. So if you want to send us any feedback, you can email feedback at lowearthorbit.fm. You can find us on Twitter at lowearthshow. All the notes for all the stuff that we talk about is on our website at lowearthorbit.fm. And we have a YouTube page where all of the video versions of the episodes show up. And we're up to 19 subscribers. So we are just a hair. There is this tiny, tiny little line between us and 20. So if somebody's out there, feels like they have a few minutes.
It could be you. Could be the one.
We will have a little party in your name when we see that.
We'll have one of those little banner ads. You are the 20th listener to this YouTube page.
Click here. All right, so we're going to talk about spoilers in the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, pause now and come back and we'll be here. All right. So, Steve, what did you want to spoil for the people out there?
I'm curious what you guys thought about the mom sort of abandoning her child and living with the dragons and in the feral wilderness ice cave thing.
It's kind of stretched believability for me.
Yeah,
it was kind of like she was kind of like, oh, I forgot to come home.
Yeah,
like ever.
Yeah. I definitely had that exact thought at some point in the movie. I was like, I could see this for like a few weeks. I don't know, about 20 years. Did you just forget where everyone lived? Like, did you miss speaking English? Like, I mean, the dragons don't talk. I mean, and she was kind of like that a little bit when he first meets her. It's almost like she's sort of forgotten how to interact with people.
But then she speaks perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's like, no, 20 years is a long time.
Yeah, and it was weird too because like it almost feels like they figured that out and then they had the really dramatic scene where like they maybe added the scene where they almost killed Hiccup. And that was like sort of her motive for, oh, they'll never understand me. And then she's like, I can't go back. That was kind of her reason, but it didn't. remember she was saying like, well, because there was an obvious question, like, why didn't you come home, like right where you knew everybody was? And she was like saying, well, I couldn't go back because I couldn't convince anybody else that dragons were dangerous.
I think maybe they were like, well, she was they were trying to make the point that she was a danger to her child by believing in peace with the dragon.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
or
it just makes it feel like she wasn't like she made her seem like she didn't really believe in her like convictions, like like they want to have both ways, that she like believed in peace with the dragons, but also was trying to like protect her child by not being there.
I think you're thinking,
despite the fact that dragons were attacking.
I think you're expecting. Yeah, I don't know. It felt weird. I have to say, I was encouraged initially when Hiccup is skipping along the top of the clouds, and he encounters like this mysterious figure. I usually dig that because I was concerned that they were going to too quickly introduce the villain, and I like it when there's sort of like another main character, and I think actually it would have been a much better movie if they had somebody who was never fully fleshed out, like kind of more mysterious character, and then it kind of felt like, oh, here's a mysterious character, and then like 2 minutes later they're like, oh, it's your mom. It's like, okay, I mean that's cool.
I kind of wish they had sort of gone on longer,
or well, just maybe if they kept it as not a family member, it's like some other variable that didn't have such an immediate connection,
and saved that reveal for later in the movie.
I feel like the pacing of the beginning of the movie was really brisk. Like it barely starts out, and in this like frenetic, like race thing.
The sheep, by the way, I gotta say, I love the sheep.
I love the sheep too as well. They were my favorite parts. Yeah, I love that they come back at the end as well. Yeah, that's great.
Also, I noticed at some point in the movie, do we see? There's basically only 3 kinds of animals I think we see in the entire movie: dragons, sheep, and fish. Am I wrong? Are there any other species of animals that show up anywhere else in either movie?
I don't think there is anything.
You might be right.
Because even like, there's like the little fish, but then there's like these sort of like manta ray, dragon.
Oh yeah, I didn't know what was going on with those.
And like at the beginning, they're kind of like skimming over the ocean, and there's like these water dragons that are sort of like, migrating or something.
It was kind of weird because they didn't establish how Toothless got back to the ice cave. Like there was the swimming guys, and I was like, oh, did they fly?
Pick him up? Like I don't know.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I figured that, like, just given, like, the rules of, like, script writing, they couldn't have him die in such a, like, it would have to be a lot more dramatic if they were actually going to do that to him. So, like, obviously he's going to come back. It's just a question of, like, how. It's like, maybe some underwater thing will scoop him up and spit him out in the cave.
But he was back in no time. Like, I thought
it was pretty quick.
They, like, at least, like, let his faux death linger for a little while. Right, so you could, like, begin to wonder. But no, 30 seconds later, he's back alive. Just fine.
What did you guys think of the father dying?
I was pretty bummed about that. Mostly, I mean, I think that in both movies that character is kind of like a bit flat. He's just sort of like the dad who doesn't get his kids sort of character, which whatever.
He's got a little more kind of emotional.
Yeah, he's got a little bit more, but just mostly bummed that Gerard Butler is not going to be in any future How to Train Your Dragon movies.
I was bummed that the flaming arrow didn't miss the boat. Like, what a wasted opportunity. Particularly since Kit Harington is like, was one of the voices, one of the characters. Like, totally could have done a Game of Thrones callback. The guy plays Jon Snow.
Oh, really? Which one is he doing?
He must have been one of the like
dragons. One of the kids.
Yeah, one of those. I think it was one of those kids. I don't know.
Wow, that's interesting.
You're talking about though in Game of Thrones with the flaming arrow.
Oh, which I've already forgotten.
It was I think it was like season 3 when
spoilers for a different show.
Wait, is this like the battle in the harbor at King's Landing?
No. It's a funeral boat thing.
Exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. Wow, that actually would have been brilliant. Yeah, because it takes him like. Does he ever get it, or does
he doesn't ever get it? They have to like his uncle has to do it or something instead.
So they could have done that. They could have done.
You could have.
That would have been perfect.
Okay, that would have been pretty good.
I mean, it might have ruined like the mood of the movie, but like,
yeah, that's true. It would definitely change the tone of that whole scene.
They should have done that in the outtakes.
That would have been great. Yeah,
I like it when CG films do outtakes. Like Pixar movies sometimes do outtakes, and that's great.
Oh, it's always with John. What's his name? John Ratzenberger. Is it John Ratzenberger? Is that the pig? The guy who plays all the characters.
What is his name? Yeah,
I think it's John.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Ratzenberger. Because they did one. It might have even been. was it Toy Story 3 where they? Oh no, it was Cars.
It's Cars, where they show first of all, they show Cars versions of all the Pixar movies. They're like all like toy cars, or like all bug cars, or like whatever, right? By the end, he's like, "That's the same voices in all these things. What kind of cut rate operation is this?"
The best thing though is that it starts off. He's watching the movies, and it starts off with him being like, "Well, this is a fine thespian if I've ever seen one." He's like, "Wait a minute, this is the same guy we used over and over again." Yeah, that was amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, they should have done. They did, although it's interesting. So after during the credits in this one, in Train Your Dragon, they did like concept art, which I don't know if I've ever seen before.
In the credits that we saw just here? Oh my gosh, it was awesome.
Yeah,
that was actually,
cool.
I think, one of the best parts of the movie, because something about the particular style they did all that artwork
It's like idyllic.
Well, it really reminded me, actually, so before all of the Lord of the Rings movies came out and got real popular, like, there was a lot of Lord of the Rings like artwork in that kind of style, you know?
Oh.
And that's what it looks like. It looks just like that. Like if you go back and look at like, you know, that style of painting that people would do of like, you know, Gandalf or like, you know, the Balrog and stuff. And you're just like, oh, that's so cool. Yeah. That's what it looked like. You know? But that was really, I actually kind of liked that better than the art style of the movie itself.
Yeah. Particularly like that. All the humans, you know, like it was just it feels just so generic the way that they were rendered for the most part.
Yeah, it's interesting that there is this. Yeah, the DreamWorks like humans have a particular look.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
It's weird. It's like almost. Yeah, I don't know how to like with the Pixar human. Like I'm thinking of like Incredibles, for example. They look basically human, and there's little embellishments and whatever, but they never look like. The DreamWorks characters always to me look like intentionally stylized. Like they don't want them to look too human, so they do some crazy thing where it's like elongated features or whatever. And I never get that feeling from the Pixar people. But with these guys, I kind of have to consciously not look at it, so I'm not thinking about it. I might be overthinking this, but
there was a shot towards the beginning of the movie where Hiccup is walking around, and you can actually get like a look at him like in full profile. And I was looking at the difference between his feet. He's got like the peg leg, and he's got his foot. His real foot looks like the size of a watermelon. I'm like, why is your foot so big? I actually totally took me out of the movie. I'm like, is that just his boot? Why is his foot so big? It's bigger than his head.
Yeah, I thought his foot was in a cast at the beginning, actually.
Actually, yeah. By the way, the microsecond thing that happened, and we were both laughing at, was when they were in the cave and they met the mother again. And I forget what the best friend, whatever it is, that comes along. He's like, "This is why I never got married. There's one other reason I never got married."
And they never follow up with it either.
Well, I mean, to me, he's gay. I mean, it was sort of
I don't know, or like there are more parts that are pegged.
Oh, that's possible too.
I don't know.
I don't know. It was whatever it was. It was hilarious because you're just like, wait, what?
What does that mean? This is a kids movie.
But it's funny. So like I said, there were some really high points and some weird ones, and I thought the way they did the husband and wife thing was pretty cool. Like how at least for me, it was kind of unexpected, where he was trying to basically win her back. And I thought that was it added some depth to his character, because he's usually just sort of the breaking stuff guy. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of dug that.
Yeah, I think it did help when he then later got killed off. It gave a little more gravitas. To that whole thing. I mean, it felt very intentional to the whole movie, like the themes of the movie.
Yeah. I literally, there was a moment where I thought like a song was starting. I was like, is this a musical? Where like the mom almost the way she was talking was like, oh, it sounds like they're leading into a song, and I was like, oh no. No song. Never mind. False alarm. Still a DreamWorks movie.
Got some guy who just really wants to write Disney movies. He's going to try and slip songs in DreamWorks. Like, Bob, you got to stop. We don't do songs here.
I'm actually still. I mean, I think for me the best part of the movie is how emotive Toothless is. Like how much you feel like, yeah, that's like my dog, or whatever, and like you really feel for that character. And like, particularly, there was one moment where I was like he kills the dad, and he obviously doesn't mean to, and Hiccup's mad at him. And he's like, at least for me, I was like, oh my God, I feel so bad for him. Because he's mad at him, and Toothless is like, I don't understand. He's really like sad about it. And like, I felt that sadness that he was feeling. And that's hard to do, A, with a CG character at all. And B, when it's like a dragon, but the eyes are so emotive, and the mannerisms are so emotive. I mean, it's hard to get that right.
I think that's one of the problems I had with both films, is that I'm not really like a dog person. And so like, I've always felt like it was trying really hard to make them be like dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And never really like grew up with dogs or like ever had.
They're just like dragons.
Yes. That makes perfect sense now. So I feel like I was always missing something. Like whenever they spend a lot of time like focusing on the dragon, and it's like
rubbing their belly,
and all that stuff, and I'm like, I feel like, oh, I should be reacting to this in some like some emotional way, and no.
Did you see Lilo and Stitch? Have you seen?
Yeah. No.
Okay, so it's some of the same people that worked on this and worked on Lilo and Stitch, which is why Toothless kind of
Toothless is kind of Stitch-like.
Yeah. Did you like that? Did you like that movie?
It's been a while since I've seen it. I don't remember not liking it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would probably remember it more clearly if I hadn't liked it. So I think it's probably okay. I just haven't seen it forever though.
The one thing I actually liked it, but it was it was sort of a dark horse movie, kind of intentionally in a way. But it was funny because leading up to the release of that movie, they had like promotional trailers. And what they did is they would it would look as if they were doing a promotional trailer for Beauty and the Beast or Little Mermaid. And it would be like pitch perfect, like same animation, everything. Right. They would, like in the Beauty and the Beast one, it was like they were in the ballroom, with the dress and everything. And then all of a sudden Stitch would show up and like start wreaking havoc. And it would basically tear that movie apart.
Just, like, react
yeah.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. But yeah. Okay.
That's not like typical Disney marketing though, right? That's more something like the Muppets would do, right? Where they like
exactly
barge in on somebody else's trailer.
It was that kind of deal. Yeah, where it's sort of like the fourth wall, not really fourth wall busting, a little bit. He was invading different characters' universes,
Yeah. That's cool.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Jay Baruchel.
I can't do it, Captain.
Geopolitical struggle involving dragons and Vikings